welcome back. It's recording.
No, I know it's been recording this whole time.
Well, I mean, no, it hasn't. But we can go. No, it'll just hit the vape pen and like completely make everybody not know what the joke was. All right. Hello and welcome back to the library. And before we get lost amongst the stacks, I want to reintroduce my guest this week. He's back, baby. It's Mr. Vernacular Spectacular himself, Davis Peck. How are you doing?
Oh, doing well. Good to be back.
Yeah, feeling all right.
Yeah.
After a tie.
The worst loss I've ever suffered in my life.
The phrase of a tie is like kissing your sister is not even close to what
ties
happened.
deserve to be in sports, just not that one.
Yeah, no, that was not right. Sophomore year was tough. So this is going to be more of an unorthodox Lost in the Library episode. Usually we talk about an author or a poet, discuss their lives and their upbringings and the events that influenced them to create their art. Or sometimes we delve into a book, discuss the historical context needed to understand why certain aspects of the novel are important, and comment on our favorite parts without giving too much away. I have even brought a fun topic of an author's personal love letters and poked fun of it. Davis, you were on that. And, we also talked about a literal library at one point. We can make fun of people's intimate thoughts that happened centuries ago. Again, today we're just going to do something wildly different. We're going to be telling you a story, one that happened deep within the confines of Vermont in literary history, one where literature plays kind of a big role at one point, but cannot be blamed for what actually had ended up occurring. And I'm hoping to keep this tradition alive amongst the spooky season, because this is something that is new to this podcast. So let's just dive in it, because, Davis, do you have any questions before we start?
This isn't the story of the time a British imperialist moved to Vermont to invent the Raj, is it?
No, but we'll do that next time because that's scary enough. Most of this will be PG-13 rated in terms of context. I cannot confirm nor deny the amount of times I say fuck on this, and I had said fuck capitalized on this version script, so there we are. Now it's rated R officially because, sorry kids, I lied. You learned a lesson today. Adults lie. They do it all the time, but not like the way that politicians lie. They shouldn't be okay. Parents are just trying to tell you things to keep you safe, and like saying fuck twice or three times at this point means that it's officially rated R. This is spooky season after all.
Spooky season?
Spooky season.
Everyone loves spooky season.
Susan season. Everybody loves a Susan.
The spooky lazy Susan.
Yeah, no, I mean a lazy Susan is pretty awesome. I've got two and I don't even know what to do with one of them. Realistically.
Oh, place setting tricks.
I know. Well, yeah, that's actually a pretty good party trick, isn't it? This entire script is based off, well, let's just get to the story. The story is set in the town of Chester, Vermont. Have you ever been to Chester?
Yeah, I've been to Chester.
Chester has always been a quiet town. It's always going to probably be a quiet town. It is one of those interior Vermont towns that has one-lane highways coming into it. In this case, it's routes 11 and 103 that enter and exit from the north, south, east, and west, just like the weapons of mass destruction, all leading to a small strip of about a half a mile that turns into a 25-mile-per-hour time capsule where the name changes into Main Street. Of course, I'm being a little disingenuous, for there is another route that heads like directly south of Main Street, right in the heart of Chester. It's called Route 35, conveniently. This mostly uninhabited road leads you through a thick young forest, through an area that it has been colloquially named the Popple Dungeon for more than 100 years now. Davis, do you know anything about Popple Dungeons?
I don't know anything about Popple Dungeons.
Is that familiar to you at all?
I mean, the only tangential thing I can think of is like Rip Van Winkle, but that's a couple mountain ranges away.
Oh, yeah, it's hundreds of miles away, too. No, the Popple Dungeon is actually pretty, I think, uniquely Vermont. I've never heard of it before, and I don't know. I grew up not too far from Rip Van Winkle, so the Popple Dungeon, the Popple part being a catch-all term for local trees that once thrived in the area, such as alders, cottonwoods, quaking aspens, and, of course, poplars, but now have mostly been replaced by birches, beeches, and of course the sugar maple. And the dungeon, well, there are more than a few eerie rumors and tall tales of thick, foggy forests that leave wanderers lost. Those unfamiliar are warned not to enter the woods when dusk begin to set, for the darkness can leave you confused, and bears and coyotes are only a few of the things that you should be concerned of in this woods. It is an eerie sight.
Ooh.
Nowadays, Chester is a quiet town known for its historic districts, with a handful of homes constructed right in the main street of local granite, a lot of these being built in a long expanse between 1750 and 1924.
I would not have guessed they were that old.
One of the things that I had a hard time with this research is the amount of times that I was researching something and was like, it's just a historic home of a person. I can't even find the person's name past that. Yeah. It's like, oh, he lived here. Maybe he lived here. These historic districts are on the National Register of Historic Places in town, especially like people actually come to this town to look at these homes. It's a town of around 3,000 residents today, and for those who live in southern New England and ski or ride in southern Vermont, you may know Chester for it just being like one of the towns that is along the route on the way of Magic Mountain, Bromley, and the unbelievably bougie Stratton. It's literally on the way. Even for myself, like I would take 91 down south and take cross over 103 to get there.
Oh, talk about a who's who of C-tier ski mountains.
It's all on that route, yeah. If you're coming from the east. If you're coming from the west, you're not coming to Chester at all. Outside the story we're about to tell, Chester's claim to national fame at this point is that the townsfolk fought against a proposed Dollar General between the years of 2011 and 2012. Their legal argument was that the proposed location would break environmental laws, so like they basically tried to pull an alligator Alcatraz before it was cool and shut down buildings you wouldn't want in your neighborhood. However, the Vermont Environmental Court ruled that the Dollar General can be built there. It's right in the heart of town.
No, I know where it is.
Yeah, we've passed it plenty of times. Do you have any experiences of Chester before we move on? Because like now is a great time.
Well, I mean, it is basically a town that time forgot.
That's a great way of putting it.
Apart from the main drag, which has your stereotypical like quaint tourist attraction like amenities, it's like a bunch of old houses and people living up in the hills up in the hollers. Like it could be no different than it was 100 years ago.
I totally agree. I like the town. I would love to live in a town like this. Don't get me wrong. And I mean, Davis, that is a good point that's going to end up being very pertinent at the end of this story, because this story is going to be one of what you described is very relevant. I'm not going to spoil of why it is. I have plenty of stories about Chester. It's a sweet town. Sweet people live there. I can't like say anything about Chester that is negative because, again, it attracts a certain type of person. I'm one of them. Outside of like, you know, a couple of Marine generals and like one of the most evil human beings of all time, in my view, I didn't even write him down, but like he lived there for a long time. He's the guy who's like
Paul Bremer?
Yeah, Paul Bremer. Holy shit. Davis and his Paul Bremer.
Yep.
He lived in Chester for a very long time. The guy who fucked up Iraq. One of the few.
Well, I mean, that was a real team effort there, though.
Yeah, Paul Bremer. Holy fuck. Yes. One of Chester's actual greatest residents to ever live there is Donald James Cram. Have you ever heard of him?
No, I have not.
He was awarded the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1987.
Oh, what did he do? What did
with
he try
two
and blow
other
up?
Scientists. It's, quote, for their development and use of molecules with structure-specific interactions of high sensitivity. You make the best of that. I have no fucking clue what that means. But, you know, he was born there. He ended up dying in, I think, Palm Springs. He's just a dude. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. This story takes place in the latter half of the 19th century and the early 20th century, very early. It does not pertain to chemistry in any meaningful capacity, nor are we talking about disgruntled NIMBYs fighting against Donald Generals. I say NIMBY as if I wasn't going to be one of them, realistically. Like, I would fucking fight against a Donald General in my household, too. Hell, it doesn't even take place in the forest I described. In fact, the spooky setting I previously mentioned did not exist in any way that could be recognizable today outside some of the buildings and the roads. Adding all that detail before we just get into the story wasn't to lead the listener down a rabbit hole only to pull a fast one on them later. It's just simply bad writing, Davis.
Nice.
Boom. Self-roast. Because the landscape of the 19th century Vermont that we know was immensely different, with many of the forests cut down to make way for farming and to heat homes in the brutal, long Vermont winters. Though to say they were completely eradicated would also be a little disingenuous, these forests, right? Trees grow like weeds in the state. I, in fact, have to cut back several trees that pop up like weeds every single year in our tiny yard. Like, it's kind of rough. I don't know if you have to deal with this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'd call it dealing with it, but yeah, no, we live in a temperate forest, and it's nice.
It's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I love it. It's just like, I shouldn't have weeds growing out of my fucking garage, the foundation.
Maybe you shouldn't have garage growing out of the fucking earth.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I didn't put that garage there, nor did that garage has been there longer than that fucking tree has, too. I'll tell you that. So, yeah. I digress. And for a better description, honestly, here's an excerpt I found online from a book called The History of Windsor County, Vermont, the chapter being the history of the town of Chester. Riveting fucking stuff, trust me, that describes the landscape and the values of the people that regarded the usage of land at the time, right? So, like, again, it's Windsor County. We're talking about, like, not far from Woodstock. Quote, "The surface is considerably diversified with hills and valleys, but the soil is generally good, and the uplands yield excellent pasturage. The intervals are rich and fertile, producing good crops of rye, corn, barley, oats, peas, beans, potatoes, etc. The roads are remarkably well laid, level, and well wrought for such an uneven town. The timber is of hardwood, with some hemlock, spruce, and pine added in between. Williams River is formed in the town by the union of three branches which unite about a mile southeast of Chester Village, affording good mill sites," unquote. And it sounds very mundane, but, like, I don't know, that's very important for this story.
I mean, that's the
town
kind
itself.
of the story of settlement up in these river valleys is just like everyone thinks that it's the way the roads went, but no, it was the way the rivers went.
That's where the villages ended up. That's the best way of putting it. Like, we'll talk about some of the villages later. The way that the towns, at least in this part of New England, ended up was just like, well, we're just going to cut these lands the same way that we're going to cut up the Middle East. Straight borders and random.
Yep.
Where this story does take place in the quiet towns of Chester, some of the granite stone homes and the buildings in the center of town, it takes place in these farms that we also discussed, many of which are still around today. Most importantly, it also holds a spot in Vermont lore, with books and literature playing a significant role towards the end. We're 2 pages in, about 15 minutes. We describe Chester, past and present. Do you have any idea where we're going, Davis? Because the people of Chester actually might.
No, not yet.
On a late night of September of 1886, the Adams and Davis Company, LOL, was burglarized. Money was stolen. The town constable, Henry Bond, was on the scene shortly afterwards. The investigation faltered when he interviewed every known ne'er-do-well in Chester, population about 2,000 when this story starts to take place. Maybe Constable Bond thought this would be a one-time thing. Maybe he hoped it would resolve itself. Maybe he hoped it was just some random person, a wanderer or a vagrant from a distant land. You know, Rutland.
Rut Vegas.
Maybe that person committed this crime. But when James E. Pollard's home was broken into and his pocketbook containing $200 and his wife's gold watch was stolen, well, Constable Bond couldn't count himself that lucky. In fact, this began a series of robberies across Chester and the neighboring village of North Springfield, to a much lesser extent, for the next 16 years.
Oh, damn.
In fact, the previously mentioned James E. Pollard would be robbed a total of 6 times by himself alone. He wasn't the worst. Pollard owned the town's largest general store, so it was pretty clear that he was probably going to be a frequent target. But this isn't nicking just like a chocolate bar here and there.
Did they even have those back then?
Not well. Maybe.
Yeah, like what? I'm sure you said it, but like, what time period are we dealing with?
We'll set. 16 years. So 1886 to. Well, I'll tell you the last date. Add the math in your head. Nearly everybody in town knew somebody that would be robbed. Right, like over the course of this period, a minimum of 50 burglaries occurred in this quiet Vermont mountain town.
Oh, damn.
This was a time.
Like, are there even 50 homesteads?
Well, 2,000 people. It's not, it's not an unusual amount of people for people at that point. But for the fact of the matter, that it's not a place that can actually hold a lot of people in general, right? Yeah. We're talking that between, let's say, 1900 to 2025, they have 3,100 maybe. And
like the time period we're talking about is like when the Precision Valley in particular was like the most economically active.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's a time where like being able to have a family farm of immense quantity is going to be pertinent.
Yep. I'm just waiting to hear this guy swing from a railway signal post.
So, Davis, obviously this is a time before state police existed, right? It was a time before many places even had sheriffs. It was up to the select board of the town to organize and fund a response to this menace. And it was truly a menace, for it seemed like whoever was responsible, be one person or a few or even a posse, didn't seem to care much what they were robbing as long as they were stealing something.
Oh.
Items like bundles of shingles from the railroad that ran through the town were nicked. Feed from the multitudinous farm supply stores were constantly being robbed. Feed, obviously, very important in this area. From one of the sources I used, it was stated that pretty much every single store in town, other than a few exceptions, had some sort of farmer supply in it, right? Like most of the stores were farmer supply stores. And that was the difference. That's one of the biggest difference between then and now. Walker's Furniture Store had their window smashed in, right? At one point, stolen from them was one of their newfangled, quote-unquote, safety bicycles. You know, the kind with the same sized wheels.
Nice.
Valued at this time of $75, which today
So this does beg the question, like, did they determine that there was like a unifying MO across all these crimes, or could it just be we got a scapegoat, so Jimmy, why is the window broken? That's our ghost robber. Like, no. Okay, Fred, like, why do you have extra grain? Like, the ghost robber did it.
We'll talk about that at the end, towards the end of when he gets caught. But it's a good question because the MO is interesting. It's a very interesting MO. So, all right, we're going back into the value of a safety bicycle. $75, Davis.
Oh, that's fucking steep. That's steep.
Hot guess.
$3,000.
Not far. I saw between 2,500 and 2,750 in today's money, which, like, you know, I don't know. I walk past like the bike shop by where I live. That's not far from.
Until 15 years ago, that was steep.
Yes, exactly. I mean, you can. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some people are listening. There's like, I can get a bicycle for $100 for my kid at Walmart. Yes, you can.
Yes,
you can absolutely do that.
Or the Dollar General. You're welcome.
Bringing it back, but like at one point, realistically, like somehow downhill mountain biking made things way more expensive, and now I walk past and they just have $3,000 bikes on like the loosest of chains in St. Albans. So I'm not saying that you should.
Yeah, but that's just called gentrification.
I mean, that's not really. I don't.
Well, it's gentrification of the woods.
Oh, of the woods. Okay. Where I live is getting gentrified by any means. But whatever. I think it's safe to assume that whoever stole that bike had to walk it home as well, as it was like the only bicycle in town. And I don't think that I'm being facetious.
No, these are
like
paved roads. Like, you're not riding
that
that anywhere.
The phrase of it's like riding a bicycle was significant now, but like people still had to learn how to ride said bikes. Like that's not like a thing back then.
It's like riding a bicycle. No one will ever forget what you looked like when you rode that bicycle.
The largest haul that ever happened out of these burglaries came in the expense of one George Allen, a prosperous farmer in town. He had recently sold his cattle in Boston, and nearly all of his money he obtained from that deal was robbed when he and his wife were awakened one night by a masked marauder at gunpoint, while another person allegedly ransacked the home. The bandits stole $1,500 from the Allens. That's over $50,000 in today's money. That's people's salary.
That's awful. But I'm still hung up on imagining a cattle drive from Chester, Vermont to Boston.
Yeah.
Like just getting caught in traffic on 95. Like what the fuck?
Today's what? Yeah. Oh my God. I have no clue how they would transport that. Like I don't know. This is also the late 1880s. So afterwards, a true posse was formed. You know, because they had a gun in that person's face, right? Like. They combed the woods nearby. They combed everything. So, like, assumedly, they went into that Popple dungeon, but it was to no avail. They found nothing. Finally, the select board, led by one Clarence Adams and Chester's representative at one point in 1894 to the Vermont House of Representatives, this guy said it was not only like the person who helped form the town's bank, but was also one of the committee members on the library for a long time. He offered the town offered a $500 reward to capture this criminal, and Adams offered another $100 of his own money. That $100 is nearly $2,000 at this time. In addition to that, the town, that was in addition to what the town could provide. They also hired a private detective from Boston. The select board did, right? But again, that was to no avail.
Oh, did they get a pink?
Oh. You want to know what the town found out?
Yes, I do.
I'm sorry, this is ridiculous. I'm going to keep all this stuttering in. All that the detective found and uncovered was a bunch of smuggled liquor in which should have been a dry town, legally speaking. You guys got caught.
Don't look at the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, not a dry town after all, guys. That never works out. All the usual suspects were interrogated over the years, obviously, right? A young Gideon Lee being one of them, after several scrapes of the law. And no, I'm not talking about the 60th mayor of New York City, Gideon Lee of the Jacksonian Party, which, oof.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah, right. Whatever people think of the person who's going to be the next mayor, which is Mamdani, right? Right?
Let's hope.
Well, he's not a Jacksonian for sure. Go him. Fuck yeah. I'm sorry, I'm pro him, obviously, but what can I say? I'm talking about Gideon Lee of the Gideon Lee House, a descendant of the Gideon Lee who owned the Gideon Lee House in Chester, erected in 1840. Well, it wasn't Gideon Lee, right?
Yeah.
This Gideon Lee wasn't the Gideon Lee that got arrested.
It was a third Gideon Lee has hit the towers.
I'm still surprised. Out of all the conspiracy theories, why aren't there more of the ones of the Pentagon ones, right?
Because that leads to dangerous questions, but also like that's the one I'm least concerned about. Like,
I guess. I mean, that one makes the most sense in a logical way.
Jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams does not lead you to ask dangerous questions about who actually holds the reins of power.
You know, it wasn't Gideon Lee because he died shortly after being interrogated. People just kind of did that back then, like died immediately, right? Or randomly. Chester crime wave continued, and then there was this one person named Thomas Converse, no relation. He died in a county jail in Woodstock, probably a prison beef over his shoes, realistically.
Well, I mean, they're nice shoes.
Yeah.
First sneaker.
The burglaries ensued. Some people started to get creative. Remember our dear friend James E. Pollard?
Mm-hmm.
He installed a new contraption, a fancily new electronic burglar alarm, making it known around town by boasting about it, which is exactly what you want to do, right? The thief entered the very next night after it was installed, entering through a 14-inch by 18-inch closet window.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, tiny. That's like so small. The only window not wired in the entire house. So he knew something was up, right? The thief made off with a fur coat, his wife's cape, and $15 whole, which I'm not going to figure out what that is at this point.
I mean, that's a good haul.
It's not bad at all. Out of a closet, the town's druggist, F.W. Pierce, decided enough was enough. If Constable Bond can't catch this damn criminal, and if there's no other help from the county or the state, then the townsfolk need to take the matters into their own hands, Davis. So
Vigilante justice.
Absolutely. So he imported revolvers and sold them out of his drugstore. It's very American. And a tradition that still kind of holds true today, because you can still buy guns in that neck of the woods for damn sure out of a town called Cavendish, the town north of Chester, which is very
Is it even a town?
Yes, it is. It's very pertinent to the story, actually, Cavendish. At Singleton's Chester store. Have you been to Singleton's before?
I have driven by Singleton's many times, and I don't know if I want to venture in there.
I love Singleton's. I'm not a pro-gun person. Sorry, guys who are like this. They're very pro-gun. I was raised pacifist, and nowadays I'm changing my ideas about things. But you also live in America at a time where you have to do that. But stop by if you want to have the dankest sandwich if you're ever going to have in your life in a weird part of Vermont, or if you're looking to purchase an old-timey bolt action rifle, like a really old-timey one.
Do they have most of the guns, or is it just Mausers down there?
Dude, they have so many weird things. They just sell guns like it's nothing. And I think they get away with a lot of what they're selling because it's ancient guns, like American laws, where they're past 100 years, or whatever it is.
This serial number's in Cyrillic.
Yeah, well. Well, to the chagrin of F.W. Pierce, Davis, and probably and almost certainly to the whole town, the crook jimmied the door and stole all the guns that were still unsold.
Nice.
So not only is he a clever cut purse, he now is very well armed. It all took one man's ingenuity to finally capture this pest. One of the most frequent sufferers was a man who owned a gristmill, and he was a gristmill operator, an owner obviously named Charles H. Waterman. Bags of feed were regularly stolen from his mill, and with the help of Constable Bond, Waterman deduced that the burglar removed the locks from the mill doors completely and reinstalled them after making us whole when he was stealing them at the time, which is pretty smart.
That takes some skill.
Yeah. Mr. Waterman finally petitioned the select board to keep a night watchman, which they happily agreed to. But a few days after the night watchman was dismissed, his shit got robbed again. It was that quick. Chucky Waters here, right, got creative. He had a hunch that the burglar liked challenges. It was more than just the product. He was in it for the game, not the result. And that's kind of where you would get.
Yeah, you got to respect it.
Yeah. And Chucky Waters knew that the most difficult way to enter his mill was through a window that was on the downstream side of the building near the back, directly above the raceway of the mill. The only way it could be reached is through an engine shed attached to the main part of the building. So he secured a shotgun, ran string through the hooks to the window's lower sash, and rigged it so the string would tighten against the trigger, discharging the gun directly at the opening.
Well, it's good to hear the war on crime has entered its Looney Tunes stage.
It is the most Looney Tunes shit I've ever seen in my life or read. I read that, Davis. I put what the fuck in this in the margins of that.
It's burglar season. Fire.
On July 29th, 1902, 16 years after the first crime that happened in this town, the Looney Tunes shit occurred. Charles Waterman was at a school board meeting at Town Hall, of course. The only other person who was privy to the booby trap was his 20-year-old son, Gardner. Yes, he named his son Gardner Waterman.
Nice. Nominative determinism is still alive and well.
I know, right? It's fucking stupid. What a dumb name, Gardner Waterman. Anyway, when the gun got discharged, Gardner's grandfather joked, "Some of the boys must have some crackers left over from the 4th." The 4th being the 4th of July. Gardner knew better. For whatever reason, whether it was due to Charles's explicit orders or Gardner didn't want to go there alone, he ran into town instead of checking the mill. He was 20 years old after all, but some 20-year-olds are more adventurous, I feel like. On his way, he saw a man who he thought was a drunk lying in the bushes off the side of the road. I don't know how common this was back in the day in this town of 2000 in the year of 1902, but how do you fucking dismiss this? There's just some fucking guy on the side of the road drunk at night. Well, whatever.
I don't know, spoken like someone who did not go on the Halloween pub crawl this year.
It's July in 20. It's July.
So he's not gonna get fucking hypothermia.
When the Watermans or the Watermen, English could be a fickle language. Well, father and son finally came to the mill. They found blood on the windowsill and buckshot sprayed about. But,
ooh, buckshot.
Yes, but they did not find the thief. It was later that same night that select board member Clarence Adams was found by a passerby slumped below his hilltop farm. He was covered in blood and actively bleeding. When finally he reached his home, he told his housekeeper, Mrs. I think it's Elmina Walker. Elmina, right, is the name. That he had been shot by a couple of highwaymen. News spread rapidly, as it is wont to do in this small town. People were shocked. Shocked, I tell you, that the town's model citizen was ambushed and shot by outlaws. The town clerk, a man named A.D.L. Herrick, was quoted, quote, "What is the town coming to when honest citizens' lives and their property are at the mercy of a gang of criminals like these?" Unquote. Clarence Adams.
Aragua.
What?
Trenta de Aragua.
Fair enough. Clarence Adams got surgery the next morning. 84 pieces of number 8 shot had to be removed from his leg.
Peppered.
At first, people believed Clarence's story, right? After all, he was the most prominent member of town. He not only was a select board member and once represented the state legislature, he was the trustee of the library. He offered his own money in addition to the ransom for the burglaries. Even Constable Bond was on his side at first until he began investigating his story and noticed discrepancies. First, there were no other footprints on that other than the set that he had on the dirt road where the shooting purportedly took place. There was also no blood on the scene, nor any evidence of a shot being fired nearby. When Constable Bond questioned Waterman about his contraption, which apparently was absolutely legal to construct at this time. I have no clue how it is legal to this day, but holy shit, that's besides the point, I guess. We'll talk after this point. Yeah. He confirmed that it was indeed loaded with number 8 shot. I don't know if that you could do that anymore, if you can just like...
you might be able to still do that.
In some states, maybe. I don't know if in this state. That's fucking wild. Clarence's 240-acre hilltop farm was searched. Quoting my main source now, a book called, quote, Mischief in the Mountains on what they found.
Do we know where that farm was? Like what the address is?
I actually haven't even looked. I look at every single fucking address, and this is the only one I didn't look at, so I need to figure that one out. Wow, what a...
Figure it out.
I did. I had for a completely different script, which is going to be pertinent next week. But I went on a downhill spiral about how fucked up Camden, New Jersey went because of somebody else. And like, damn, man. And you won't even guess who that was, who ended up dying in Camden. So, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. It's one of the most important figures of all of American literature. But, what they found, quote, they found grain sacks from Waterman's. They found missing shingles, some of them anyway. They found the guns stolen from the drugstore and much of the jewelry that had disappeared over the years from Chester homes.
I mean, apart from the jewelry, how could you, like, everything else is so nondescript that it's like, yeah, of course. Where else would I buy the thing?
They found in the incongruous assortment of loot a whole box of pre-tied bow ties that had been stolen from a Montpelier haberdasher the year Adams was in the legislature.
Okay, yeah. Fair enough.
They found...
I stand corrected.
They found hanging in a tree out back the rusted frame of the newly safety bike for which the merchant Walker had once asked $75, unquote.
Yeah, that's a hell of a wreck.
Clarence Adams was immediately arrested. He was sentenced 2 weeks later. It took 2 weeks back then. He didn't really have a trial. They just sentenced him.
You're done.
You're going to jail. It was a 9 to 10 year sentence in Vermont State Prison in Windsor. And of course, it was sensationalized. William Randolph Hearst's papers dubbed him the, quote, gentleman burglar, unquote, and ran the story all across the country. The little town of Chester, Vermont made national news in one of the silliest ways possible. And the main source I have been quoting is a book published in 1970, Davis, and it kept referencing times of how embarrassing it was for the townsfolk to that day, being like known for a burglar, basically. Time eventually heals all wounds because I do not know Chester for that reason.
I've not heard this story.
It took a long time for you to find this story, right? And like sources are not very prevalent anymore. Clarence's story has another twist. But before we get to that, let's talk about Clarence Adams, right? And his life. Do you have any assumptions about him?
Like, I mean, I feel like he was like one of the town landowners, like one of the few people with access to capital in the area.
He was a huge landowner, definitely. He was not a landlord, though.
Oh yeah, no, access to capital rather than.
I mean, I feel like at that point everybody did, though. Like that's the difference, right?
I don't know if that's true. I think everybody you read about did.
Yeah, that's true. You correct me. Born on November 18th, 1857, in the neighboring town of Cavendish, he comes from old New England stock. One of his great-grandparents fought at the Battle of Bunker Hill. He's also distantly related to both John Adams and John Quincy Adams.
Aha.
It should also be noted that the Adams name was, and still to this very day, is very common in this area, right? It just happens to where people end up, right? This isn't much known about his early childhood, right? There isn't anything really known about it. He had one sibling, Marcellus, who died during infancy. Marcellus, just like...
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're naming a kid Marcellus, that's definitely at least trying to hearken back to the aristocracy, if not actually being a part of it.
And I can only think of Marcellus Wallace during, Pulp Fiction. Yeah. Marcellus.
Oh no, one of the Caesar pokers.
Well, we have two different cultural references here. He was 3 years old only when his family purchased the 240-acre farm in Chester, right? He was known to be an intelligent child until he was a young adult as well. And being intelligent, he wanted to travel and see the world. Quoting himself now, quote, "When I was a boy, my great desire was to enter the Army or Navy, but circumstances prevented my doing it. My father and mother opposed it. They were growing old and needed help." Unquote. At the age of 25, he considered becoming a detective and even applied for the United States Secret Service, which was a relatively new agency at the time, right? His mother further objected to this, and even though he was a man at 25, especially back then, and could make his own decision.
Mama didn't raise no feds. I respect that.
Yes. I mean, well, I don't know. Those feds back then were a very different vibe.
Well, yes and no. They were treasury agents. They were looking for counterfeiting.
Yes.
That was what their job was back then.
Yeah, mostly, right? Beyond, like, protecting the president. That was, like, loosely their job at some points. But, yeah, counterfeiting was the biggest thing they were doing. Even though he was... like legit, like he could make his own decisions, both societal and familial pressures kept him in his isolated farm. He was not the oldest, but the only child, right? And 240 acres is fucking huge.
Yeah.
It's a huge farm. It has been written that he won the respect of the townsfolk for his decision to stay and help his family, and that no other person at that point, after his decision, was as respected as he was, specifically on town meeting day. Very Vermont. One of the most Vermont things I've ever read.
Yep.
Town meeting day. I love town meeting days.
Old time New England.
Yep, seriously. It would. Sorry, guys. You have no fucking clue what town meeting day is until you actually go to one.
The town I grew up in, we had one. Oh man, they were almost brawls when it came to school budget voting.
Yeah,
it's legitimately people calling each other out by names and addresses, calling almost retarded. And this was 90s Massachusetts, so I'm allowed to say it. I mean, I'm just being period accurate, folks.
Well, some of the things that happened in town meeting days and in town around here is the same thing. I'm not not condoning violence, but at a certain point when it comes down to neighborhood disputes,
that was a barely concealed threat there.
Well, I would prefer that kind of democracy. You
mean actual democracy?
Actual democracy, yeah. Yes. Moving back onto the story, because we haven't even talked about the literature books part yet, Davis. It was also in his youth when he became obsessed with literature, right? Makes sense. His greatest interests were adventure and romance novels from authors like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Robert Louis Stevenson, Charles Dickens, Edgar Allan Poe, Victor Hugo, and Alexander Dumas, who we covered on an earlier episode. His most thumbed-through book was none other than Stevenson's Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which has to be said. This book was published 3 weeks before the first robbery that he committed, and Adams was noted talking about the book throughout town many times.
Was he also a famous chemist?
Reading today isn't super hip, right? Like, to be honest, that's fine. There are plenty of people I know who haven't read a book at all within the last year. And in high school, there were even people that I knew who bragged that they never read a book their entire lives at that point. There are also the type of people I don't think they actually read a book their entire lives. Typically, these were not successful students, nor really successful people. But according to our main source, reading was considered a socially deviant activity in much of the United States, of the U.S. of motherfucking A, right? And specifically in small towns like Chester, Vermont, in the year of 1900, right? Like, this would mean you were a brainiac.
Well, I mean, even beyond that, it's either you're wasting daylight when you could be reaping the corn, or you're wasting fucking candles with your fucking nonsense. Like, those are the two options.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, right? His housemaid was quoted, "He used to sit up all hours reading, and I often wondered if it didn't drive him crazy sooner than it did. Reading is the cause of it all. It was turned..." No, right.
Can I get that in writing?
"It has turned the poor man's head," unquote. Soon the town's consensus was that his misdeeds were due to his unusual interest in books. In fact, it's claimed he had around 2,000 books in his immense personal collection at his house. The vast majority of them untouched was what the claim was.
How many of those were purchased?
Their bindings unbroken, which makes sense. On a personal note, I might have a couple of 100 books at most at my house. Like, I try to estimate this, and that's still a shit ton. Like, I have a lot of books. I'm not gonna lie. I can't imagine having thousands, but maybe I'll get there one of these days. Kind of a goal, realistically.
Well, also, you do have to wonder what particularly when libraries were actually the source of information. How many
and wealth?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, they were absolutely they weren't the source of wealth. They were the marker of wealth. How many of those books were just there as a reference? Like, oh yeah, let me get my encyclopedia out, or hold on, here's my book on late stage farming. Like,
yeah, it's a very fair point. As much as libraries back in the day too were useful, and there are also libraries that you had to go very far away. Like, I don't know. Today I was at the library with my daughter, and I heard somebody trying to. And this is very Vermont. I'm not going to fucking say it's not Vermont, but talking about I need a book about organic farming at during the winter. I'm like, okay, I know exactly what's going on here.
Yep, that book's going to sit on the shelf for 99.9% of his life, and maybe it'll get cracked.
And it was cracked today.
Yep.
Well, that's exactly it. And 2,000 books back in the day, these are fucking nice books.
Yep.
My books are fucking trash, a lot of them. I'm not going to lie. They're used books I find on the side of the road half the time. Literally. $5 book for I don't know, War and Peace that was published 25, 30 years ago. I'll buy it fucking for $5.
But even the books you describe as trash are still better pieces than the $25, $30 book you'll get from Barnes and Noble nowadays.
Or the pieces that you needed to have back in the day, right? So 2,000 books is still immense, right? That's, and we're talking about a big farmstead, right? We're not talking about, I don't know, just your normal home. So it will fill the house, but there's still room afterwards. And bindings unbroken, again, makes sense. His collection at that point was worth $4,000 when he was arrested, Davis.
Oh, I hope those wound up somewhere.
You want to guess?
Not a Derrick.
$100,000 overall.
Oh no, I mean I don't care what the money it fetched. Where did the books go?
I have no clue. So, Davis, it's worth about $100,000 today.
Jesus.
So now you know where at least part of the money that he stole was being spent.
Yep.
Right? That's a significant portion. And to me, it makes sense he would only read a portion of the books that he liked specifically. Because who the fuck has time to read 2,000 books? I mean, I've been reading a book on average Davis, and this isn't a brag, this is just like a comparison, right?
Sure it isn't.
This is something that I personally love to do, and like I've been doing it for an average a week every single year since 2017, and plenty of people do this, right? Not including books that I've read before. That means that's 416.
Yeah, you're a quarter of the way there.
Yeah, it's 416 books in a total of an 8-year period. At that rate, it would take...
Wait, a book a week? I don't think your math's right.
Well, that's 52 times 8.
Yeah, okay. So stand correct.
Yeah. That's going to take 40 years to finish that off, right?
Yeah.
That's insane, right? Like, and like my goal isn't to read 2,000 books. It's just like to fucking continuously have a goal to be like, I need to finish this book by the end of the week, right? Like, or like be like, okay, well, like I missed a week and I need to read something shorter, which makes my like diversity of the books that I'm reading much more diverse. Like I love that. Like I'm just I'm just going to read something else. And like that's the goal that I have and set myself, and it's great. That makes a lot of sense when you have, I don't know, $1,500 that you stole from some dude and you just need to spend it, and like you're not short on fucking change.
And no one's gonna know the value, and two, no one's gonna see it. It's not like, oh, that's a nice carriage. Where'd you get that from?
Yeah, I mean exactly. So it's in your house, and if you're not inviting anybody in your house, who the fuck cares, right?
And he's clearly not, because he's reading.
Yeah, he was always he never married. He was a bachelor all his life. He didn't really have any female interests really that are noted. I mentioned this because one source also claimed that he owned the books for appearance sake, as opposed to like being a scholar, because they just said that he was a simple farmer and a farm laborer, and that's like unbelievably reductive. Some of the most intelligent people that I know are farmers, right?
Cincinnati said the same thing, and I'm sure he knew who that was.
Yeah, right. Like it takes a lot of fucking knowledge to run a farm. It really does. Like some of the biggest and most dense books at the St. Albans Library are fucking farm books.
Well, like the American university system was set up to educate farmers.
Yeah, and he was not an educated person in any sense, right? Like he didn't go through like the school system in that way.
I mean,
but
he was lettered, clearly,
right? And bluntly, like, what the fuck are you supposed to do for like 5 to 6 months of the year when you can't work on your farm in Vermont?
You're supposed to go skiing like a normal person.
You're supposed to go to the fucking state legislature and be on a select board, right? Like, that's exactly what you're supposed to do if you're smart. Like, I've already come to terms personally that I probably will never be able to read, even if it's my mission to do so, every single book that I have. And the majority of people who are like me, who like love to have books like this, probably are the same way.
Well, I mean, once Quinn gets to be reading age, that number's going to skyrocket. Like, do you know how many ice creams you can crank out in a day?
He was also very infatuated. He was infatuated with literature, right? And like one of the ways I can like prove
I think that's the exact right word.
Infatuated.
Yeah,
is that he wrote a paper once called "The Appreciation of J. Fenimore Cooper." You know, the early American novelist who wrote Last of the Mohicans, right? And this paper was published in the New York Times literary magazine, right? Not the New York Times, but the literary magazine that's been around for a long time. Like, it's still significant.
Yeah, like some might say more significant for
this purpose.
Exactly.
I totally agree. This is his only known publication, right? The only time he's ever written anything. But it also showed that he had enough skill to be published by the New York Times. Like, that's significant. And like, problems aside with both the New York Times and also James Fenimore Cooper, like, whatever. Like, we're not going to talk about. That's enough episode. Both of those. After his arrest and imprisonment, he was compared to the character of one of his favorite novels, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This is a loose comparison in that person had to take a serum that would suppress his innermost evil and only come out at night, where Adams was just a kleptomaniac and clearly an intelligent one at that, who lived some kind of a double life, but not really, realistically.
Well, I mean, each burglary was the serum.
Mr. Hyde infamously murders a person also in one of the earliest scenes of that book too. So like I don't think it's a fair comparison. I doubt Adams touched anything stronger than the illicit booze that somehow seemed prevalent around time at the time. Clarence Adams compared himself to a different fictional character named A.J. Raffles. Have you heard of him at all?
I am unfamiliar.
This was a gentleman thief living in Albany, London, a prestigious address in that city. It was written by E.W. Hornung, Hornung. Hornung.
Wow.
I don't know.
Nope.
Yeah, right. Like
still no bells.
He was the brother-in-law of one Arthur Conan Doyle.
Aha.
Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, of course, was the author of the renowned Sherlock Holmes novels and stories. And A.J. Raffles was basically the knockoff counterpart of Sherlock Holmes, right? Basically, where instead of being the gentried amateur detective, he was the gentried amateur crook.
Could this be... I mean, it's got to be an early example, but that could be like one of the first examples of an anti-hero.
It seems kind of suspicious where you get all this, I don't know, notes from your brother-in-law that you're going to write all this.
Well, I mean, it does seem suspicious, but also it's like, not to cast aspersions, because I certainly am not capable of it, but it also seems incredibly hacked. Like, oh, you do this? Oh, I'm going to do the exact opposite.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Makes sense. Adams, right, Clarence, did not last long in prison. 18 months after he entered, he died. He complained to a friend, a fellow prison mate, and also the prison's orderly that he was developing rheumatism. This orderly/prisoner, not to be confused with an orderly prisoner, diagnosed him with, quote, edema of the lungs, unquote. He ended up dying on February 26, 1904. It's thought that he died of most likely of pneumonia, possibly of influenza. Now, the person who diagnosed him, his name has been lost to history, and it was immediately suspicious to the community at large that the prison doctor hadn't been the one to see him when he died. Adams came under the care of this anonymous inmate after death, too, as the prison doctor allegedly signed the death certificate without examining the body. His prison friend washed his friend's dead body. He signed the death certificates as well, shaved his face, stuffed cotton lightly in his nostrils and ears, which is a common thing to do, right? And dressed the body afterwards. He was later embalmed elsewhere and then taken by sleigh hearse to Cavendish, where the body would be put in a customary vault above ground to await burial when the ground thawed come spring. And I just love the concept of a sleigh hearse, like a sleigh horse, but it's a hearse.
Yep.
It's kind of funny to me.
Well, you know all those like bunkers that she's drive by on like the hillside cemeteries?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's exactly what they were for. Yeah. Yeah, no, that part isn't funny.
I mean, it is kind of funny, but...
Okay, sure. I mean, honestly, if I get buried by if I get Slayhurst after life, I feel like I lived a good life.
Nah, fuck that. Give me the Sam McGee treatment.
The circumstances around his death seem to be very suspicious for a lot of people, right? Why was this random orderly allowed to do all the postmortem work?
Yeah, postmortem.
Oh, fuck me. That's
That's dark.
That's
dangerously dark.
Yeah, that's dad life right there. So why was it? Why did you all do all the post-mortem work without the supervision of the prison doctor? Furthermore, he was only 46 when he died. Less than 2 years before, he was able to quite athletically and acrobatically do feats to commit robberies. These were serious feats, Davis.
Well, TB is a hell of a drug.
and he was known to be a pretty well-built man at his time. It also didn't help that a few years after his death, did the Windsor prison get investigated as prisoners kept dying of preventable causes, probably just like himself. And also because the prison we're talking about also had a serious amount of sexual misconduct like claims by both prisoners and staff alike. So
even the prison guards aren't safe.
I know. Well, the prison guards are the ones doing it, probably, allegedly, right? You know, prison hasn't fucking changed.
Yeah, no, prison has not changed.
What really blew the top off the conspiracy lid was when a reputable salesman of Chester claimed that he had seen and spoken face-to-face with Clarence Adams in the lobby of the Hotel Windsor in Montreal, Quebec. He was later seen in Nova Scotia, apparently, and then in Western Canada. The Hearst papers fucking loved it. They whipped up a Clarence Adams frenzy. The further lasted for years, Davis, even though there was no other witnesses outside of that could be credible, and there were real credible witnesses who saw his body get buried on May Day of 1904. Like there were plenty of people who saw enough that were credible.
Well, that's an early ice out.
Well, the funny thing about that ice out, Davis, is that at one point somebody who was supposed to come up that was also a different credible witness, and I didn't write this down, but there was a major storm that happened on May 1st of that year, and they were able to finally bury his body still after the major storm. It was a snowstorm. It was just one of those warm snowstorms.
I don't know. This seems fishy. I think we need to send a battleship to investigate.
No, here you want to hear the conspiracies? These are my favorite ones. Adams was unquestionably the prison librarian. He absolutely was, right? That's a fact.
No, seems irrefutable.
And what was known and what as a prison librarian is different. What was rumored is that apparently it was accessible in the small state prison that he was able to read and collect books of the occult.
Ooh.
Being a student of the occult thereby, he secretly learned, practiced, and perfected self-hypnosis.
Okay.
With the connivance of the prison doctor. This is a key element of all other conspiracies around him. We're not going to get to all of them.
Loki, the first Wim Hof practitioner?
Kind of, yeah. He was thus able to awake from his stupor and have another body put in his stead. One of the addendums to this conspiracy is that even though body snatching was no longer common, a cadaver could possibly have been smuggled from Dartmouth Medical School only 15 miles away, switching the body prior to the embalming process, right?
Oh, I'm here for it.
I mean, that part actually is more likely.
Yeah, I'm kind of here for it.
Although self-hypnosis, not. That one...
What else is he going to do?
Furthermore, why did Adams choose to die during the long, cold, dark Vermont winter? Didn't he know that he wouldn't be buried until spring? Coincidence?
I think so. It turns out it was just a coal fire.
Yeah, he almost certainly didn't do that. That's almost 100% true. His grave is still marked in Cavendish.
Well, let's exhume it.
Credible witnesses saw he died, but it's okay. It's still entertaining.
Okay. Who are these credible witnesses? It sounds like they're all convicts to me.
Like his cousin, his brother. Well, his cousins. Yeah, I think, if I remember correctly. This all leads.
So people with vested interests.
This all leads to the ultimate question: what was his motive, right, Davis? What the fuck? Why did he do this? Well, let's get right from the villain's mouth himself. I'm quoting Adams, quote, "What I've done, I attribute to the spirit of adventure that was born within me. I craved some excitement, something to occupy my mind, aside from humdrum affairs.
So I was going to make a joke. We do these things not because they are easy, but because they are hard. But no, we do these things not because they're easy, but because they are hard.
He literally was just bored. Ladies and gentlemen, he did it because he was fucking bored. We wanted to break from the monotony of life. And I thought it is clearly an exaggeration, a stretch to believe that books gave him the idea, but like reading and thieving are inextricably linked to his desire from boredom here, right?
Well,
like,
yeah, I mean,
like that, like they're like it was just a desire to fucking not be monotonous in a boring town in Vermont at the time that he was living.
Yeah.
That's not fucking hard to believe at all. Not even a little bit. Any questions or comments before we do sources? Because
no,
I have plenty.
It all checks out.
I actually don't think it's hard to believe that like reading like was one of the reasons why he went, oh, I can just do this myself.
I mean, I am much more willing to chalk it up to the marijuana's the gateway drug because people are bored and need to escalate than the marijuana is the escalation.
That's fair enough, but I also could think of like, oh, I'm reading all these like ridiculous novels, and I'm like, oh, what if I am able to put the next step past that?
Well, yes, but I don't feel like he was writing his own story. I feel like he was looking for another hit.
I mean, he's definitely looking for another hit too. I mean, he was a kleptomaniac. Yeah. He didn't really give a shit what he was doing at a certain point, but
I mean, it's a hair to split for sure. But
today, like, he would probably just end up doing drugs, right? And like sitting around his home. Like, I don't know. I that's what's more fruitful?
Yeah, well,
I guess doing drugs. I don't know. He's at least
he'd be a member of another renowned family with their names on a couple libraries, the Sacklers.
Yeah, well, he would be the one who would perish after the Sacklers.
Yeah, I mean it's part of their coven.
Davis,
Army of the Dead and all that.
What's funniest about this is that like they keep like trying to blame books that like about it and like him just like being inspired by it, and it's like no, like you can't blame. And I was making some stupid points about this earlier, but you can't like blame Sherlock Holmes specifically about the fact that he was able to like literally climb over a watermill and get his groin shot off.
Yeah,
like that is like ridiculous to me. You can't blame holding up somebody in the middle of the night for $50,000 worth of money in today's money. Like,
yep. And also books don't cause want. Want is like a priority to that.
It's almost certain that he also had an accomplice too. That we haven't touched upon. It was mentioned briefly in the couple sources I've read, but like he never spoke. He was a fucking diehard. He was true to his word all his life. Which you find a friend like that, guys.
Yeah.
Well, anything else before we spot out?
No, I don't think so. But that was a fascinating romp.
Yeah, we'll do something similar to this next Halloween too. The main source was Mischief in the Mountains, specifically a chapter "The Man Who Would Never Be Bored Because He Can," by Stephen Green and Walter Hard Jr. It was another just a little library find, dude. I just found this in a library that was on the side of the road.
Oh, that's awesome.
The history of Windsor County, Vermont, the chapter being History of the Town of Chester by Lewis C. Aldrich and Frank R. Holmes. This was published in 1891, so that's very contemporary. Vermont Diggers article, then again, The Bizarre Case of Clarence Adams by Mark Bushnell, Times Argus article, Gentleman Bandit, a Vermont Legislature's Secret Existence as a Thief by Paul Heller, These Dark Mountain Historical, Vermont Crime Podcast on Rutland Herald's article, The Man Who Played Detective by Joseph A. Citro, 7 Days' article. I love these. Have you ever seen these ones, WTF ones?
Occasionally, yeah. 7 Days has some nice stuff in there every now and again.
Yeah. Why are the streets in two Vermont towns named Popple Dungeon Road? This one's by Ethan DeCeef. Yeah, and then just like some wiki articles about A.J. Raffles, obviously Chester, Vermont, Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Oh, wait, just going back to Poplar Dungeon, is it this is the popular poplar dungeon, or
It's
there are
popple.
popple dungeon or popple dungeons are a biome, for lack of a better word, like scattered everywhere.
Well, no, it's a vernacular term, right?
But is it a specific vernacular term, or is it could I find a popple dungeon in Warren? Could I find a popple dungeon, or am I only going to find it in the Chester, Baltimore, or Springfield area?
Honestly, Davis, there's two. You want to guess where the other one is? It's a fucking wild one.
I was on a Pennsylvania springs to mind.
It's in Vermont.
But the second one's not in that.
No, not even close.
Oh, then it's got to be in the Kingdom then.
Nope, Chittenden County.
No
Yes.
shit.
Yes, I'm telling you, it's fucking wild.
South Burlington.
No, Charlotte.
Oh,
Popple Dungeon Roads in Charlotte. I'm gonna plug my Patreon. That's Lost in the Library Podcast on Patreon. Also, any questions, please send them to lostinthelibrarypodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram. Again, that's Lost in the Library over there. And I have a Substack. You can read my work at Fil Deptula. That's just my name. So it's currently under development and everything. It's all free as of recording. This was not supposed to be an hour and 20 minutes.
well, it was a good one.
It was a good one. It was a fun one. Literature can sometimes fucking warp your mind, Davis.
Oh, that's why I don't do it.
Fuck you. You've been on this podcast so many times.
Oh, shit. Been discovered.